Interstate Highway 45, or I-45, is a major transportation route in the Houston area. The project limits for the proposed North Houston Highway Improvement Project are from US 59, now known as I-69, at Spur 527, to I-45 at Beltway 8 North. The total project length is approximately 24 miles. To facilitate the development and evaluation of alternatives, the study area was divided into 3 study segments. Segment 1 is the north segment, from Beltway 8 North to approximately I-610, the North Loop. Segment 2 is the middle segment from approximately I-610 to approximately I-10. And Segment 3 is the downtown loop system, which includes portions of I-45, I-10, and I-69 in the downtown area, and State Highway 288 and Spur 527 south of downtown. The proposed North Houston Highway Improvement Project is needed for several reasons. There is inadequate highway capacity for existing and future traffic demands on the highways in the North Houston corridor. Between the years 2015 and 2040, average daily traffic volumes in the project corridor are projected to increase by as much as 30%. Traffic congestion, which is measured by traffic volume and roadway capacity, will increase if no improvements are made. The current high-occupancy vehicle, or HOV lane on I-45 serves traffic in only one direction during the peak traffic periods and is unused for large portions of the day. During peak hours, the HOV lane is congested. I-45 is a designated evacuation route for the region. At its present capacity, evacuation effectiveness would be limited in the event of a hurricane or other regional emergency. Portions of I-45 do not meet current roadway design standards, creating a traffic safety concern. Roadway design deficiencies also include inadequate stormwater drainage in some locations. Intense rainfall causes high water levels at the I-45 I-10 underpass and on the outside lanes. I-45 would not operate effectively as an evacuation route with high water closures, especially during hurricane evacuations when high rainfall events are likely. Forecasts for commuter service indicate that even with parallel high-capacity transit in the corridor, two-way managed lanes would be needed to support commuter traffic and express bus service. Also, in the most recent ranking of the top 100 most congested roadways in Texas, 8 of the top 35 are in the project area. The purpose of the proposed project is to provide a highway facility with additional capacity in the I-45 Hardy Toll Road corridor to manage congestion, improve mobility, enhance safety, and provide travelers with options to reach their destinations. Based on the evaluation of alternatives, one proposed recommended alternative was identified for each study segment. The proposed recommended alternative for Segment 1 would provide new capacity by adding 4 managed express lanes, also known as MAX lanes, 1 additional frontage road lane in each direction, and safety features, including full-width shoulders and accommodations for bicycles and pedestrians along the frontage roads. The MAX lanes would include both HOV and toll operations. New right-of-way would be acquired primarily from the west side of I-45. This graphic is a rendering that shows I-45 in Segment 1 between Beltway 8 North and I-610. The proposed project includes 4 general-purpose lanes in each direction, 2 MAX lanes in each direction, and 3 frontage road lanes in each direction. Proposed improvements in Segment 2 include adding 2 MAX lanes in each direction. Added safety features would include full-width shoulders and accommodations for bicycles and pedestrians along the frontage roads. In Segment 2, the project right-of-way is constrained by Hollywood Cemetery, Germantown Historic District, and Woodland Park. This rendering shows the Segment 2 area near North Main Street, looking north at the depressed section of I-45. The general-purpose lanes and MAX lanes would be below grade, and the frontage roads would be at grade. This image shows a concept where the area between the frontage roads could be used as open space. The open space option is conceptual and would require additional development and funding partners to bring the concept to fruition. In Segment 3, in the downtown Houston area, the proposed recommended alternative would reroute I-45 to be parallel with I-10 on the north side of downtown and parallel to I-69 on the east side of downtown. Portions of I-10 and I-69 would be realigned to improve the existing horizontal curves, which would enhance safety and mobility. I-69 would be depressed from the east side of downtown to spur 527. The existing elevated section of I-45 on the west and south sides of downtown Houston, known as the Pierce Elevated, would be replaced by downtown connectors that would allow access to and from various downtown streets. 2 express lanes in each direction would be constructed on I-10 from west of I-45 to east of I-69 to allow through traffic on I-10 to bypass downtown Houston. The I-45 max lanes from north of I-10 would terminate on the north side of downtown Houston at the same streets as the existing HOV lane. This image shows the proposed project on the west side of downtown Houston, looking south. Removal of the Pierce Elevated provides the opportunity to enhance the visual sight line on the west and south sides of downtown. This image shows the proposed project on the north side of downtown looking north, where I-45 would be parallel to I-10, and a portion of I-10 would be moved north and adjacent to the railroad. This image shows the proposed project on the east side of downtown looking north. I-69 would be depressed from Commerce Street to spur 527. I-45 would be depressed from Commerce Street to Lamar Street. Similar to the depressed section of I-45 in Segment 2, the depressed section of I-45 and I-69 on the east side of downtown would provide the opportunity for a structural cap over the depressed lanes that could be used as open space. The open space option is conceptual and would require additional development and funding partners to bring the concept to fruition. Proposed design changes that are not documented in the Draft Environmental Impact Statement, or Draft EIS, are being considered for the proposed recommended alternative. A preliminary drainage study for the project recommends the addition of stormwater detention sites. Most of the detention areas would be within the project right-of-way. Proposed roadway design changes include modifications to some entrance and exit ramps, highway interchanges, and frontage roads. In some areas, right-of-way needs would be reduced. Overall, the stormwater detention and roadway design changes would require approximately 58 acres of new right-of-way, in addition to what was evaluated in the draft EIS. The proposed changes are shown on the exhibits in the open house area at tonight's hearing, and are also on the project website. These and any other design changes that could result, based on input during the comment period, will be documented in the next phase of the study process, which will be the preparation of the final EIS. Anticipated benefits of the proposed project include an expected increase in travel speeds of 20+ miles per hour in the downtown area, a 50% reduction in traffic delay during the peak hour, and a region-wide reduction in delay, with increases in traffic speeds. The estimated construction cost for the proposed project is approximately $7 billion in today's dollars. Funding for initial phases of construction has been identified. Construction is anticipated to begin in 2020. The first project is expected to be the section of I-69 from spur 527 to State Highway 288. Construction would be phased as additional funding is identified and would likely progress from south to north. A draft environmental impact statement has been prepared for the proposed project and is available tonight for your review. The draft EIS evaluates the build alternatives and the no-build alternative. The draft EIS presents existing conditions in the project area and the evaluation of potential impacts of the proposed project. It also summarizes coordination with stakeholders, including the public and agencies. As part of the draft EIS process, natural, cultural, social, and economic resources were evaluated for impacts potentially resulting from implementation of the proposed project. As documented in the draft EIS, the evaluation indicates that there would be potential impacts as a result of the proposed project. We'll discuss some of these topics in this presentation. Details of the impact analyses are in the draft EIS and associated technical reports, which can be viewed at the environmental table in the open house area. Existing land uses in the area of the proposed project include a mix of residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, parks, and vacant land. The proposed recommended alternative evaluated in the draft EIS would require approximately 391 acres of new right-of-way. Displacement of residences, commercial businesses, commercial billboards, places of worship, and schools are anticipated. Our right-of-way staff is here this evening to assist you with questions regarding the acquisition of property. The anticipated displacements of housing and loss of community resources resulting from the proposed project would have an adverse impact on low-income, minority, and other sensitive populations. TxDOT is coordinating with agencies and organizations to identify mitigation measures to reduce impacts to community resources, and will include the results in the final EIS. The acquisition of new right-of-way for the proposed project would result in a loss of property and sales tax revenues, which could have a negative impact on the local economy. However, the revenue losses may be reduced if businesses relocate in the same taxing jurisdiction. The proposed project would have direct and indirect effects on local and regional employment and income. When the proposed project is added to the Regional Transportation Plan and the Transportation Improvement Program, it will be consistent with the Regional Air Quality Conformity Determination. A traffic air quality analysis indicates that carbon monoxide concentrations would not be expected to exceed the national standard. A quantitative mobile source air toxics analysis will be conducted for the final EIS. A traffic noise analysis indicates that the proposed project would result in traffic noise impacts. However, some locations experience a reduction in predicted noise levels. A more detailed analysis of noise impacts and noise mitigation will be conducted for the final EIS. The project would be designed not to increase flood risk. Pump stations would be provided to manage drainage in proposed depressed areas. Impacts to water bodies and wetlands would be avoided or minimized. Required permits would be obtained prior to construction. An archaeological survey was conducted on some properties within the project right-of-way. No archaeological resources were identified. Additional studies will be conducted for the final EIS. The proposed project would directly affect 6 historic resources. Studies are ongoing and TxDOT is coordinating with consulting parties, including the Texas Historical Commission. The final EIS will document the final effects determination. There are sites within the project area that are considered at risk for containing hazardous materials. TxDOT will perform additional investigations and identify any required sampling, analysis, remediation, and soil or groundwater management. The proposed project is generally compatible with the existing visual environment and is not anticipated to degrade the visual quality of the project area. Visual sight lines would be enhanced where the existing Pierce elevated and I-69 elevated structures would be removed. Section 4F of the U.S. Department of Transportation Act applies to this project because the proposed new right-of-way would impact publicly owned parks and significant historic sites, as defined by Section 4F. On the state level, Chapter 26 of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Code is a state regulatory requirement that also applies to this project because of impacts to public parks. 2 historic buildings, known as the Carlisle Plastics and Reader's Wholesale Distributors warehouses, would be adversely impacted by the proposed project. Effects to the historic Cheek Neal Coffee Company building are under review. Historic studies and related consultation are ongoing, and the final EIS will document the final effects determination for historic resources. Freed Art and Nature Park occupies approximately 6.2 acres of land northwest of the I-45 and I-10 interchange, at the corner of Houston Avenue and White Oak Drive. The park is heavily wooded in some areas, is designated for passive use, and is partly bordered by paved trails that connect to some nearby parks and trails. As a result of the proposed project, approximately 0.21 acre of the park would become roadway right-of-way that would be owned by the state of Texas. TxDOT has designed the proposed project to minimize the impacts of right-of-way acquisition in this area as much as possible. Alternatives that would not impact the park would not meet highway design criteria, which is a traffic safety concern. The proposed right-of-way is needed to accommodate an elevated direct connector from I-45 to I-10. Except where columns to support the roadway structure would be placed in the right-of-way, the area may be able to retain vegetation similar to the existing vegetation. A small portion of a trail at the southern edge of the existing park would be reestablished as soon as possible following construction. Linear Park currently occupies approximately 6.8 acres of land on the south banks of Buffalo Bayou, on the west side of downtown Houston. The park has paved trails that connect to other trails along Buffalo Bayou. Portions of the park and trails are below the existing I-45 elevated structures. As a result of the proposed project, approximately 0.15 acre of Linear Park would become roadway right-of-way that would be owned by the state of Texas. The area impacted does not have built recreation facilities except for the trail. TxDOT has designed the proposed project to minimize right-of-way acquisition in this area as much as possible. Alternatives that would not impact the park would not meet highway design criteria. The trail within the project right-of-way would be re-established as soon as possible following project construction to reconnect existing trails. TxDOT has preliminarily determined that the impacts from the project to Freed Art and Nature Park and Linear Park would be de minimis, which means that the impacts would be minimal in nature and would not substantially change the park land's uses as City of Houston parks. TxDOT will continue coordinating with the City of Houston, which is the official with jurisdiction, to ensure that the proposed project will not adversely affect the activities, features, or attributes that make the parks eligible for Section 4F protection. Before approving the use of land protected by Chapter 26, TxDOT must determine that there is no feasible and prudent alternative to the use or taking of the park land, and the project includes all reasonable planning to minimize harm to the land as a park, resulting from the use or taking. This hearing is an opportunity for public review and comment on the impacts of the proposed project, including the preliminary de minimis impact determinations. Throughout the environmental and project development process for the project, TxDOT has coordinated with many resource agencies and other agencies, including all of the entities listed on this slide, as well as with elected officials, the public, special interest groups, and other stakeholders. In addition to this hearing and 4 rounds of public and agency meetings conducted between 2011 and 2015, TxDOT has attended more than 100 meetings with stakeholders. In the next steps of the environmental process, all comments received tonight, as well as written comments received during the comment period, will be included in the official public hearing record and will be addressed in the next phase of the environmental process, which is the preparation of the final EIS. The draft EIS and all related technical reports are available for public review after this public hearing at the TxDOT Houston District Office, on TxDOT's website, on the project website, and in several local libraries. In addition, should you wish to obtain a copy for your personal use, paper copies may be purchased for the cost of reproduction. We will now show 3-dimensional visualizations of the proposed project, beginning with Segment 3 in the downtown area and concluding with Segment 1 at Beltway 8 North. All visualizations will be moving in a northerly direction. After the series of visualizations, we will begin the public comment session. The visualization for Segment 3 will now begin. The visualization will start at Spur 527 south of downtown and will conclude at the proposed downtown connectors on the west side of downtown. The visualization for segment 2 will now begin. The visualization will start at Quitman Street and will terminate at the I-610 interchange. There are two separate visualizations for segment 1. The first visualization for segment 1 will now begin. This visualization starts at Cross Timbers Street and will terminate at West Gulf Bank Road. The second visualization for segment 1 will now begin. This visualization will start at West Gulf Bank Road and will terminate at the Beltway 8 North interchange.